Want to see my new chicks? Just kidding, it's watermelon. Seedless watermelon to be exact. Red seedless, orange seedless, which is my personal favorite. And I'm also going to do some heirloom moon and stars. Moon and stars is seeded. And the seeds are annoying, I'm not going to lie, but this variety is so incredibly sweet. And it's really pretty too because the vines and the watermelon rind get beautiful little yellow polka dots on it, hence the name Moon and Stars. And if you're planting seedless varieties, you need a seeded variety to be planted with it, or you can get little pollinator plants, often referred to as sidekicks, that will provide pollen for the seedless plants so that way the melons can actually form. So we're gonna head up to the big garden and plant those, and then I'm gonna do some more cucumbers, squash, and zucchini because I do those every 2 weeks. But before we head up there, let me show you how some of this stuff in the raised beds are doing. These bachelor buttons actually planted themselves, and we're just gonna leave them because they're pretty. You can see the watermelon radish, they're getting nice and big, they're doing really well. The beans have sprouted. The gold oregano has come back nice and strong, along with the rosemary. And I actually did not know this, but to my pleasant surprise, the chamomile has come back with a vengeance. Look how much that is. I didn't know that it was a perennial, which, you know, in hindsight, I guess I should have known because a lot of herbs, at least in our area, I live in Maryland, a lot of herbs do tend to come back, but I didn't know that because I've never really grown a lot of chamomile before, but that made me really happy. It smells so incredibly good. And the bean tower is looking good. The rabbits are such a problem around here and they really like to eat the beans, so I'm hoping that this tower will help keep them safe. And there's the peas. I'm hoping that the peas, since they vine out, will just drape over here like a beautiful fountain. We'll see how that goes. That was my strawberry hanging basket from last year. I was hoping they would come back, but they didn't. So I'm going to empty that out soon and I'll plant something else in it. Probably lettuce. I'll do a lettuce hanging basket. And then here's a volunteer snapdragon plant, one of my favorite flowers. And for the life of me, I can't remember what this flower is called, but it smells so much like baby powder. It looks a little bit worn out right now because we've been getting rain every single day for like probably over a week now. So everything's looking a little bit squishy. The onions are looking really, really nice, and so is the garlic. I'm actually going to water those with some fish fertilizer, but I'm going to wait a couple days because there's more rain in the forecast today and the next couple days, so I don't want to overwater them. I picked the first batch of arugula and spinach this week and made a nice salad. It was really good. And you can see already there's more that's ready to be picked. I went through and I thinned the beets and the carrots and I planted more of those the other day. And now the poppies are starting to bloom. That's always exciting. Of course they moved as soon as I got the camera out, but Mimosa was cuddling with Willow, and then her 3 other chicks that she adopted were roosting right near her. She has 100% adopted them. It's really cute. She's a great mom. I have those little mini pallets out there because it's been so muddy, so I wanted to give them more dry places to roost. But soon, once we finally get a break from this rain, I'm going to be spreading the mulch in there, and I'm going to clean up and make it look beautiful. But it's been horrible with all this mud. But speaking of chickens, chicken manure, and I've talked about this in other videos, it does not have to go to waste. It makes really, really good compost for your garden. Because yes, now we're getting back on topic of the garden. Or on the topic of planting watermelon, I should say, because watermelon likes a lot of compost, just like pretty much all vegetable plants. So we're gonna head up there. Here are the Brussels sprouts. They're doing really well. It's been hard staying on top of all the weeding because it's been raining so much. So the weeds are thriving. Oh no, speaking of rain, here it comes. The potatoes are enjoying this weather though. Look, they're about to bloom. I actually feel like these are moving along a little bit faster than last year. I'll give it a few minutes and see if this brief shower passes. If not, the plants still need to go into the ground, so if not, I'm going to go up there and plant anyway. But we'll see what happens. Okay, so the rain has stopped. Now it's just breezy and chilly, but the show must go on. You can see some of these have a little pollinator in here with them. That's the smaller one in here. But then I'm also going to plant the seeded watermelons in between each one. So I'm going to do it like a pattern. I'm going to do seedless watermelon, pollinator, or seeded variety, and then another seedless, pollinator, and so on. So as you can see, and I've mentioned this in other videos, I have this big black silo cover down. It'll help keep the ground nice and warm, and it'll prevent weeds from coming up. You can see some of the holes that I had from last year when I had plants, so the weeds are already sprouting up. So just gotta pull those out, work the soil, and this also helps retain moisture as well. So it serves a lot of different purposes. It does get a little bit slippery sometimes though. So here's the orange seedless. You want to put it in here with the compost and some slow release fertilizer. That way you don't burn it. Let's get rid of the weeds. You want to plant watermelon about 3 to 4 feet apart because like I was saying, they are heavy feeders, so you don't want them competing with each other too much. And since they are vine plants, they need plenty of room to space out because viney crops are very susceptible to a lot of funguses and diseases and mildews. So if they get more airflow, they're just going to fare a lot better than if they were right on top of each other. And plus, if you want large watermelon sizes, then you're going to do better if you have them spaced apart more. That way they're not competing for nutrients. There's an earthworm. Let's put it back in there where it's safe. Very beneficial. You want to plant watermelon once all danger of frost is gone. They like it warm. Like most viney crops, they are pretty prone to a lot of different mildews, like I was just saying, and also a lot of different bugs really like them, which is unfortunate. Because of that, it's not a bad idea to spray them as a precaution. You can use 7 spray, or if you wanted to go an organic route, you could do neem oil. The 7 spray does work better than neem oil in my experience, but if you don't want to use that, then try neem oil. See what works for you. have your rows about 6 feet apart. Give them lots of space. And make sure your plants stay nice and evenly watered. That way you have nice, juicy watermelon. I'm also going to be planting cantaloupe in just a couple minutes. And I basically do very similar care guides for the cantaloupe. Unlike the watermelon though, I am going to be starting my cantaloupe from a seed. I'm doing Athena. That variety gets a pretty decent size, and that's the kind that my customers always ask for. It has a very sweet taste, or so I've been told. I actually do not like cantaloupe, so I don't eat it myself, but that's what my customers always like, so they're gonna get it. And yes, cantaloupe and watermelon make a nice, healthy, and safe treat for your chickens if you have them. I know a lot of my followers do have chickens, so I thought I'd mention that. So I'm going to finish up here, and then I'm going to plant more squash and cucumbers like I was saying. I'm going to do the cantaloupe, and I'm going to do some spaghetti squash, which is one of my favorites. So I'm planting the spaghetti squash now. Spaghetti squash, yellow squash, zucchini, and watermelon. A good fertilizer ratio to use for them would be a 10-20-20 or a 5-10-10. You need some nitrogen to help get them going, but you don't want too much because, like many other things I've talked about before, then it'll focus too much on vine growth and not the fruit. You want to space your squash about 1 to 2 feet apart. Honestly, since they're so susceptible to different mildews and fungus and bugs, I do like to space mine a little bit farther. Usually 2 to 3. You can even go 4 feet. Similar rules for planting apply for the cucumbers. I love spaghetti squash. Maybe this summer, once we pick it, I can show you some different recipes for it. I didn't get too dirty considering how muddy it is. That's always a plus. So I got squash, cucumbers, zucchini, cantaloupes, watermelons planted. I pulled a ton of weeds. I'm very sore from being in a permanent squat position for so long. Everything's looking pretty good despite all the rain. A lot of the flowers that I planted a few weeks ago are coming up. But there are actually quite a few empty holes as well, so I'm going to have to replant flowers. I'll do that later this week. Peppers are looking good. This one does not need a blossom yet. It needs to grow bigger, so I'm going to take that off so that way it doesn't focus its energy into blooming too soon. Something nibbled some leaves off of this broccoli plant, but it should still be okay. Hopefully the rabbit doesn't come back. I'm sure that was the culprit. I planted sunflower seeds along the perimeter of the garden because 1, it looks beautiful, and 2, it'll help attract pollinators, which is good for the plant. And you can see that they are starting to sprout. It's so hard staying on top of all the weeds though. The cabbage is looking good, as well as the eggplant. So I'm going to get all of this cleaned up now, and then I'm going to move on to the next project. She's so nosy, she's just fascinated by the lessons.
intruder in the shed. And they threw a bag of chicken treats on the roof, which was our clue that something was amiss. So now we're going to go out here and find out what's happening. Is that a true bag of chicken treats?
Yeah. These are the only witnesses. Cornflower, what did you see?
But who would just come in here and then say, oh, I'm going to throw a bag of chicken treats up there?
That's what I want to know. Hey, look, on an unrelated note, my sweet peas have come up. I planted them around this tomato cage so they can trail up it and be a beautiful teepee. The Brussels sprouts are getting even bigger. You can see where they're going to form. And look, all the rain has made the potato vines get even bigger. Okay, so don't mind the neighbor's dogs barking in the background. They do that a lot, so unfortunately, we're just going to have to roll with it. But something very, very weird has happened. We noticed that the chicken treats, for some reason, that red bag, are on top of the roof of the shed, and we have no clue why. I always, always, always keep the shed door shut and latched. That red bag of treats I haven't even used in a while, actually. They were inside the shed on the shelf with the other treats. I've not touched them in several weeks, those particular treats. And no one else really goes in the shed. Sometimes Dad goes in the shed, but he never touches my chicken supplies. And my dad would not just randomly throw my bag of chicken treats on the roof of a shed. I don't understand why they're up there, how that happened. No one would do that. That just makes no sense. Like, that's not even a funny prank if someone's trying to prank me. The only thing I could think of is maybe a squirrel carried them up there, but the reason why that doesn't make sense is, like I was saying, I always keep the door shut and latched. And if a squirrel carried it up there, they should have chewed into it by now and eaten it. But they're just sitting there unopened. So that's pretty creepy. It makes absolutely no sense. As far as we can tell, nothing else is missing. At least nothing major that stands out to us at this moment. I don't know, I guess we gotta call the Ghostbusters or something. It's weird. Makes absolutely no sense. So earlier in the video, I talked about that blue flower that smells like baby powder, and I was like, I can't remember the name of it. Well, I was ordering flowers for my little store that I manage, and I found the variety available on there again. I ordered these lovely white ones, and now I have the name for you guys. It's a pincushion flower. There's the official name. And it's a perennial. So I'm gonna get this planted, and then I'm gonna plant some more zinnia seeds and cosmo seeds and some blanket flowers, just a nice little assortment of seeds, some more sunflowers. I already got my bee balm planted, and I love bee balm. It smells so good. What's nice is a lot of sunflowers have sprouted on their own. I guess seeds dropped from the plants that were here last year. So that's always nice. The chickens are all very nosy. You can probably hear them squawking. They want me to come over and give them treats. For some reason, their treats are on the roof of the shed. I didn't need too many seeds, so I just put them in here, since most of the holes already have sprouts in them. So what I needed, I filled up in this little container so it's nice and easy, and now I'm going to go plant them in the big garden. For a lot of flowers, they like a lower nitrogen, higher phosphorus, higher potassium fertilizer. A 5-10-10 or a 10-20-20 could work well. Or if you get the Espoma brand, which is kind of pricey, but honestly their stuff does work well. I've been happy with it. Look how pretty. But you can get a flower tone, and there's a bulb tone that they have. I think there's one called bloom tone, or maybe I'm confusing that with the bulb tone. They have a huge line. They have lots of different stuff. And their kelp meal works really well for basically any kind of flower or fruit or vegetable. We also have these little pollinator drinking stations set up. So basically, it's really cheap, really easy to make. You can get a terracotta pot, put the saucer on top, glue it together, and then get these little marbles that I got at the dollar store. It's just little glass marbles. And put them on here and fill it up with water. And the reason you put these on top is so that when the pollinators land, they're not going to drown or get stuck. They'll have a safe place to land, but still get little sips of water in between. And if you want to get creative, you can paint or decorate the outside of the pot. I wouldn't recommend doing the inside where the water is going to go. So yeah, it's pretty, it's simple, it was fun, it was easy to make, and it's beneficial. But let's get back to business. The greens are loving all of this rain. Honestly, I should have picked this arugula a little bit sooner. I picked some a couple days ago and it was really, really good, but the greens just grow so fast. So I'm gonna pick these greens. I'm gonna make a nice salad to go with my dinner tonight. Then I'm gonna pot the new cactus that I got in the mail the other night. I'll show you that briefly. Just in case you're interested, I think it's pretty cool looking. But I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna sign out. So thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Here's my cactus planter. It's got the different moon phases on it. It does not have a drainage hole, which is pretty annoying. Why would anyone make a pot without a drainage hole is beyond me. So before I add soil, I'm going to put these little pea gravel stones in the bottom to help with drainage.